welcome back to Runway Life with
Caitlyn.
And myself, Craig. So today we're going to basically talk about instrument ratings. Caitlyn is super close to doing your check ride for instrument, correct?
Yeah, working on it.
Yep. How close are you thinking? Probably within the next 6 weeks?
I finished all my hours. I'm hoping to get it done here pretty quick just because I have either I'm going to do it quickly or I'm going to wait a little bit because I'm almost done with my bachelor's degree.
Oh, yeah. Good job.
So I've been grinding that out.
Yeah. Hopefully you're not going to go work for Boeing.
Oh, no. But I heard they're really good to work for. They have an open door policy.
So inside of instrument, talk to me about it for a second because, there's a lot of people that are sitting out there saying, should I take my basically big amounts of debt to go and become a pilot in hopes of going and getting the first officer position relatively quickly and then moving through and getting into, the airlines, right?
Yeah.
So, the debt factor, there's a lot of what I call puppy mill flight schools, right? So they basically want you to pay, your $100 and something odd $1,000, which just a side plug right there, you can probably get through it for about $30,000 less with first landings.
No, for sure.
Yeah. So inside of that, just talk to us about the instrument rating, because really what we're trying to do is really educate people on the right choices and what they're really going to experience during flight school with this, right?
Yeah, honestly, you learn a lot once you finish your private and you're going on to your instrument because you have a certain amount of time build you need to do. And you're PIC, and it's not like solo before where someone was kind of monitoring you, always looking out for you. You're looking out for yourself in that moment.
Right.
You're planning your routes, you're doing all these things. And
you kind of don't have a babysitter.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. So you don't have a babysitter, and so you're really having to plan your routes and think about things more in-depthly. And so with that, you're learning a lot and you're growing a lot as a pilot. And I think the experience that you get from that is, one, super fun. Going to different places, flying, seeing different airports is amazing. But also just preparing yourself to be okay, I'm in control of my flight training.
Yep.
And I'm the one who's in control of this plane. Whether you're flying with someone, whether you're taking family up during that time. And then you go into this, pretty fast course of instrument.
Right.
And getting this add-on. And it's completely, different than private. It's not VFR anymore. You're flying solely based off the plane's instrument. And so it's a very, very different, but a lot of people really like it.
Yeah. I mean, so let's talk about prerequisites inside of that, because, I'm at about 194 hours, I think, nearly, super close to 200-hour mark, right? So talk to us about the prerequisites to be able to go and achieve your instrument rating.
So all the prerequisites is, I would suggest everybody to look up the specific regs, but there's a certain amount of cross country you need, a certain amount of hood time or instrument time you need.
Right.
And then there's certain requirements your long cross country that you have to do, whether that be solo or with a safety pilot, CFI, who's acting basically just sitting in the plane and you're still in control.
I know you got to do I want to say it's 50 hours. Of PIC, right?
And then
so if you got your 50 hours
40
PIC,
of simulated hood.
Right. Okay. And then you're rolling into all the extra little bits and pieces, right? So within 3 months of your check ride, you have to have shot 6 approaches and missed and all that kind of stuff, right?
Exactly.
So for the newer people that haven't started any flight training yet, if we're talking about approaches and if we're talking about missed, basically you got no joy inside of your minimums. You're looking, you don't see the runway, you go and missed, and that's a published route to take you into either a holding pattern or get handled by the ATC. And then from there, they'll go ahead and put you back into a path to pull you around, in which case, hopefully you see the runway on the second one, or it might not even be about seeing it, but you are not configured for a safe landing before or at minimums. So that's
Yeah.
kind of the gist. You know, we definitely don't want to get into full on nuts and bolts mode with that, because especially with the FAA Reauthorization Act, any of that could change. I'm not going to say that it will, but it could do. There's some room there where new regulations are definitely a possibility inside of the FAA Reauthorization Act.
Yeah.
So you're at, what was it, 100
Like 100 hours.
Okay, so you're right at 100 hours. You're going to be sitting your instrument inside of the next probably 3 months,
Yeah.
right? Sounds like you're doing it similar to the way that I did it, as far as making sure that I don't go into debt for a flight school.
Yeah, I've been super blessed, honestly, because my parents, like, I'm kind of in debt to my parents, and I just slowly pay it back as I go. Like, I've basically almost paid off my private back to my parents, and they paid for it in full. And then my instrument, like, same thing, my parents will put up money, and I'm in debt to them.
Zero interest loan, right? That's, I mean,
it's good.
If you got that possibility, you know, and it's a beautiful way to do it, right?
No, it's super good. And working here, I mean, the owners, who are my bosses, they've taken really good care of me. I've been able to go on flights, get discounts, things like that. They really care about my training, and I think that's not just because I work here. Like, I wouldn't really work at a flight school that didn't care about people's training. And so, like, with instrument, like, compared to other flight schools, it's like, because I shopped, like, a lot. But it's definitely more cost efficient, because I don't think we're trying to get all this money out of someone. We just want to help them get their ratings as well. So it's a mutual beneficial relationship. And it's super fun. Like, I get to celebrate students, and, like, when we do check rides, we do really fun celebrations where we're blasting music in the FBO. I mean, recently, we've probably had between, 5 anywhere to 10 instrument check ride passes. One of our CFIs has his gold seal, and most of those have been instrument check ride passes.
That's
and so
awesome.
It's been super fun celebrating people like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think the atmosphere helps grow the community, right? Just inside of any flight school.
Culture's king.
Yeah, you've got to be celebrating everybody's wins and helping people through any possible losses, right? And that's really important. At some point, people will feel down about, they feel like they should be at the next level, or they should be here because this person was already there. And I kind of try to tell people, think of it this way, that just because that person is already at that level, or they've already sat their check ride, that's just because that's that individual, and your training track is very individualized, right? It's really down to the individual. It's down to you. You can't benchmark yourself off of what somebody else is doing.
Yeah.
One of our next guests is Derek, and Derek has blown through his private, blown through his instrument, and now he's about to blow through his commercial, and that's all in the space of like 6 months.
Yeah, and I remember when I first just started talking to Derek, and I helped get him signed up, and we had a meeting. I got all his documents. He brought in his cute little folder, and he was all organized, and I was like, okay. And we offer like a standardized training, but you never know how that standardized training is going to take with the individual.
Yep.
But we always hope for a good outcome, and we support them through the whole process. And we have a really good team here. I mean, we're going to bring Jim, our chief pilot, on. Everyone's already met Adam, our owner, president of the flight school. And so it's been really good. It's a great opportunity to learn more about like the aviation business, because it's so like, you think, when I first started working here, I just worked the front desk. I kind of was like, I'm answering phones, emails. And then you get like really, really invested into like seeing people's training. So like when they lose, it takes a little bit away from you. And so you really want to see them succeed. And you just learn so much of the little details that go into helping someone.
Well, I think that really falls in with being dynamic, right? You've got to be dynamic in the style of training, the way that one individual might learn compared to a different individual. I spent some time with Disney, so their instruction method for one of their core classes is really teaching people the different ways of handling different learning styles, right? And I think that's really good, inside of the aviation side of things, because you're walking into a more standardized FAA requirement for instructors. What is it? IOI?
I think so.
No, it's FOI.
FOI.
Fundamentals of Instruction, right? Which is really going to teach those key pieces, but then you're going to learn how to really handle the individual. So I think it's absolutely great. Just to touch on it for a second, I only just heard about this about 20 minutes ago. So there's 2 new planes arriving today, correct?
Yeah. Two
brand
new
new
Piper 100Is 2024 planes.
Yep.
And so that will be expanding our fleet a lot. And it's going to be really good for our students to have that availability, whether it's rentals, and just have that leeway on the schedule, especially for those IFR flights.
Yep.
I did a lot of my IFR training or even time build training at night.
Yep.
Because you're kind of knocking out, that cross country, that hood time and nighttime.
Yep.
And so it was super fun to do at night, and it's a lot cooler in the summer.
I kind of put it down with the night flights. You're getting a whole lot more used to not seeing visual reference, right? I mean, yeah, you're gonna see some twinkling lights, but you're not gonna see anything that you would normally see during the day. So it's really good to start immersing people into the trust your instruments instead of your eyes. Yes, you're looking at the instruments with your eyes, but it's that visual reference outside, which really helps people, I think. Talk to me for a second, because I haven't had the opportunity to fly one of the P100Is yet. Obviously, the Cirrus kind of really drank from the fire hose on that one to learn the ins and outs of that plane.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a full glass cockpit. The P100Is, you've got one main screen, right, which is your 12-inch kind of MFD, if you would, right? And then you've got your G500, correct, for the autopilot. And then you've got a G6, is it, or something like that?
I think it's a G5.
G5, okay. So how easy and how nice is it flying that plane?
It's super, the G3X is changed the game compared to sometimes it can be a little bit harder. Sometimes when you're starting instrument, what I've seen at other places is the G1000 can be you really have to read up, and you probably know that from the Cirrus.
Yeah.
You really have to read up on the G1000 and how to use it. And the G3X kind of makes it simple by being touchscreen. Yeah. Instead of having to dial in.
Yeah, the thing with that, there is information overload, right? You can get too much information. That, if you're not careful, is kind of what happens inside of the Cirrus. At least from what I experienced. You've got 2 pretty big TV screens in there. Let's oversimplify it for a second. You've got 2 huge TV screens. You've got a full keypad down down by your legs, right? The autopilot is absolutely amazing, but it was still, it's still inside of the Garmin. What I believe is basically the same as what the GFC 500 is. So you've got your level buttons, you've got everything, but I got into some, during training, I got into some pretty good turbulence, and I was like, autopilot's about to kick, and it didn't. It did not kick off. I'm like, wow. But it's like everything else in the plane, right? If you're not monitoring it, if you're not being careful and making sure that it is doing exactly what you want it to do, and double checking yourself, then it's only as good as what you programmed it.
Yeah, and that's kind of the whole purpose for having a pilot in the plane.
Yeah.
Is you're there, you're in control, even when you think, everything's going fine, I can do this. It's 24/7. your name on that logbook, and so you're in control of that plane. So like, yeah, I mean, I think Piper makes it. I mean, Piper's classic.
Yeah.
Everybody loves Piper. I mean, there's the ongoing debate between Piper and Cessna. You're not a Cessna guy.
No.
I think wings should be.
Yeah, I like to sit on them instead of hang from them.
Yes.
So.
So Piper's classic, and then with their update with this new plane and the G3X and how simple it makes it, and it's literally made. It's not like made for, you know, like serious. We're like, oh, let's take the family on a trip. It's made for flight training. I mean,
It's a 3-seater, correct?
yeah, 3-seater. That way, like in some flights, someone can back seat, things like that, but get a good visual of everything rather than cramming 4 people in. And then it's also made for, like on the CFI side of the plane. So on the right side, like there's not another screen there. The CFI kind of sticks their iPad there and they're instructing.
Yeah.
And so that's the instructor's side. And on your side, you kind of have everything because you're the pilot in command, even in private pilot.
Yep.
But so it makes it great. It's made for instructing. It's made for general aviation. And so it's a great plane for instrument. It's a great plane for private. Kind of makes it easier for our students because they're not like constantly switching out different types of planes.
Yeah.
Like all of our planes, just like our training, all of our planes are standardized within the Pipers. They're all the same.
Yeah, it was. I mean, touching on the different planes for a second. Although I learned in all Warriors, each one of those planes was all 6-pack. You know, I didn't. Unfortunately, where I lived at the time, it didn't make financial sense and time sense to travel up here. So I did mine in Kissimmee with pretty much antique aircraft. I mean, let's look at it that way. Those aircraft were older than me. I never flew a plane that was younger than me.
They got the vintage section?
I think they definitely went into the vintage section on that one. So, yeah, I mean, they were antiquated, they were old, they had some problems here and there, you know. I mean, obviously they're meeting the maintenance side of things, but they were just old, and you had to treat them very, very, very nicely. Otherwise, they would be like, nope, I don't want it today.
Yeah, and every time you get in one of those, even though they're the same plane, they're very, very different.
Yep.
Even from like little things like the placements of the 6-packs where you're like, you know, it's not the exact same as the other one.
Each one of them had a different radio. It was a different kind of radio stack. Each one of them had different transponders even at one point, because I was just inside of the changeover for the transponders. So, and it was a weird time, a weird changeover.
So you like really have to get like a checkout flight
Yeah.
to fly in each one of them because you're like, I don't know how this one works. I don't know how.
Familiarization is
Did
definitely
they have,
key.
the real question is, do they have different trim?
No, so all the trim wasn't the overhead, it was down below, but each one of them reacted very, very, very differently.
The overhead is so funny because I've flown in a plane with the overhead and it's just like, yeehaw.
Yep, it is very weird.
Did they all have, like, with the brakes?
Yeah, all toe brakes.
Toe
So
brakes?
that was great. I don't think I flew anything that wasn't toe brakes, period. You know, obviously you've got differential braking,
That's
which
nice.
was key because you've got a a castering nose wheel versus, you know, captured nose wheel.
But like 6-packs is hard and it's not like a bad thing to learn. But like going through training, I mean, that's the world of aviation you're going into. I mean, train for what you want to do.
Yep.
Like, okay, if you want to go tow banners or crop desks, 6-pack's the way to go. But if you want to go be an airline pilot or fly private jets,
It's gonna be a totally different beast, right?
you're mostly looking at glass.
Yeah. So I think that about covers everything for us. You know, if you are looking for anything inside of your ratings, whether it's private, sport pilot, you know, First Landings is still offering the sport pilot program, correct?
No, we currently aren't.
Okay.
I mean, just with the new Pipers coming in and the Mosaic rule,
Yeah.
we're taking a pause on sport.
Yeah, because basically you can get rid of the older aircraft and put people into the Piper P100s to be able to still do sport pilot.
And so once that rule comes out, like we're hoping we're able to help people still with that goal of getting their sport pilot license just in a different aircraft.
So depending on when you're watching this, if Mosaic has been put into effect, you'll be able to come to first landings, do everything from sport pilot on up to all the way, 0 to hero.
Yeah, private, instrument, commercial, CFI, CFII, MEI, multi, I mean, everything you could think of.
Yep, get squared away and get to fly in the, hopefully not Boeings. So thank you very much, and Caitlyn, thanks very much.
Have a good one.
Have a good one.